And do you mind if I just move your cup?
Oh yeah, no.
Do you mind if I put it on the floor?
No, mind.
Okay, so I'll be doing audio recording as well as my camera's recording. Yeah. So yeah, if you'd like to just introduce yourself, talk a little bit about yourself, and then anything you have to share about the neighborhood, positive, negative, anything that you can like reiterate about, like, because the conversations we had over there at the meeting were like chef's kiss. I wish I had my recorder over there.
No, right,
but if you could talk a little bit about what your group talked about, because my group had great conversation. So just like anything, honestly, anything helps. Anything.
Okay. Yeah, just think about the, like, I just want to make sure I'm talking about the things that, like, because you're talking about gentrification specifically.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, it's gentrification. Okay. I don't even know what to label it. If it's like gentrification or like displacement, because it's like an argument.
I think it's one and the same, right?
Yeah, it runs against like the same aspects. But yeah, you can talk about that just as much as like our needs. But yeah, the main focus is like gentrification, like all the changes going on with like people that are already like in need of help, you know, and they're just kind of like ignoring it, and they're just like building around, which like pisses me off. And that's kind of like where like this whole project was born. It's like, hello, like I know we're not invisible, you know, and there's just like all these new projects with like these beautiful smooth roads, and they're fixing everything like close to there, you know, like with the street on 36, they fixed that street. So I mean, like, why not focus, like, there's like all of these little neighborhoods around that really do need like the fixes and help, but they don't want to put the money into it because,
for sure. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right, go ahead.
What's up? My name is KP, and I'm a member of Las Vistas Neighborhood Collaborative. And what we're experiencing now is gentrification, but I think it's more so, I like to frame it as genocide in a sense, just because December 10th, 2022, we received a notification that Regina Romero was going to then invest over $10 million into this neighborhood. Just to give a little bit of background about myself, I'm not from here, from this neighborhood. I'm not from Tucson. I'm from Dallas, Texas originally. I came here because I joined the military in 2012, and I got stationed here in 2013 at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. And my partner has lived here her entire life. Her grandmother bought a home here, migrated from Cananea in 1978, and she bought a house here in Irene Vista.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I've only lived in this neighborhood since about 2020. And the only reason that we started to grow food in this neighborhood, because Las Vistas Neighborhood Collaborative is a food security project originally, is that how we kind of came to be, because during the pandemic, you know, you go to the grocery store, there was no food, right? And so me coming from the military and coming from that, needing to be prepared for anything and always thinking the worst case scenario, I was like, okay, cool, I want to grow food. And my grandmother, she's 70 years old still to this day, disabled, and she still grows food. You know, still grows food, still has her hand in soil, still has her hands like touching leaves, you know what I mean, doing all those things that a disabled woman probably shouldn't be doing, you know what I mean? But she's been doing that since I was a kid, you know what I mean? And I would help her rake the leaves and kind of care for a large space, even though she is disabled. You know, still, she was disabled then, she's disabled now, you know? And so, we started this program out of that necessity. We had won a grant from the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona in order to fund the work. or like fund the people, like not in a full-time capacity, but to assist with the work. You know, we had received a grant for $60,000 from the Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona, but it was primarily sat in the idea of creating a way in which people could sustain themselves with their own produce, with their own livelihood, self-determination, you know. And so before that, I was a student at the University of Arizona after I'd gotten out of the military in 2018. And I was studying design thinking, which is a human-centered problem-solving method, and urban and regional development. So studying how the urban core, redlining, project housing, the freeway, all these things have been developed over time, because I had a mentor, Debbie Chess, who is a city planner. And so all of that comes into this idea of how we are kind of put into a shell. Right, like when I first started growing food and I moved into this house, you know, I'm really excited. You know, I have access to a backyard and I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. You know, not really knowing anything about soil restoration or even realizing that this neighborhood was built on top of a landfill. So when I have this tomato plant that's thriving, right, it's doing really well, I need to remove it from its current place that it's in, stick a shovel into the ground. Next thing I know, I'm seeing soda cans, I'm seeing Glad bags, I'm seeing used plastic toothpicks, I'm seeing things that are not breaking down. You know what I mean? And roots can't grow through trash. And I didn't even know that that was a thing that could, like, that people, poor, black, brown, indigenous people live on. You know what I mean? They live on like a heap of trash, basically a trash bag, right? And so we thought to ourselves, how's the best method to do that, right? Obviously raised beds, and right now where we're growing food aquaponically, which includes fish and water and lava rock. And we're growing food hydroponically as well, which is like aquaponics, but not including the fish.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so we had a person that I had known through a friend of mine, Mr. Charles Collins, who's an astronomer who is aiming to build sustainable livelihoods, like on the moon or something like that, because he's an astronomer.
Okay, yeah.
And then he built this system that's behind it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really crazy, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that, you know, you could have a system that helps you grow food. Aquaponics, hydroponics, they both grow food. Imagine like 2 heads of lettuce. Grows 2 heads of lettuce once a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then you also have the protein. You have the efficient use of water, right? You have to put water into it, but it cycles the water and it recycles the water, and it cuts down the efficient use or the inefficient use of water 80 to 90%. Comparative to like normal gardening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with this program, what we're doing is we're growing the food and then we're giving it away to our neighbors free of charge. Yeah, like, but it's in that farm to table method.
Yeah.
Right? Versus the migrant farm where the grocery store like Walmart or Costco, they exploit the worker. They exploit the migrant worker, right? That comes over here from Mexico or comes from any other country, right? That is in turmoil, and they pay them 19 cents for the day in order to then produce, to pick up the food, harvest the food that they have grown, not the corporation, but the migrant farmers, right, still. And then they put it in refrigerated trucks, and then, which is hundreds of miles away, right? And then they bring it to the grocery stores, and then they constantly water it. They constantly keep it in a refrigerated environment, which then it loses its essence.
The good things you absorb from it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And it doesn't provide the quality of life that we need, right? So across the street from this neighborhood, we live across the street from a Walmart, from a Costco, right? But what we had to do is find the data that made sense for the Food Security Project in order to win the grant. And, you know, the Walmart is technically 1.5 miles away, right? But the KFC is 0.7. You know what I mean? So it's like the closer option. And then it's like, if you when you buy the produce, you also have to prepare for your children, right? And if you're a busy mother and father, maybe just a single mother, because with the disinvestment of this neighborhood, it hasn't been invested in 7 years, came the heavily policing and militarization of this neighborhood, right? People being arrested, people being incarcerated. The first RICO case to ever happen in Tucson happened in this neighborhood in 2018. Yeah, where they arrested a lot of people that, you know, they deemed criminal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so you remove a lot of mothers, you remove a lot of fathers, a lot of tias, you know what I mean, that were a part of the fabric of this neighborhood. You know what I mean? You pump drugs into this neighborhood to then give them a reason, right? You strip them of employment, you strip them of access to transportation, you strip them of access to education, right? The Utterback Middle School, what used to be a magnet school, they have the capability, the building capacity to hold comfortably 1,200 kids, right? But now they are a little bit under 300, right? So they have the building capacity to go above 1,200 kids, but their enrollment has been below 300, you know, for the last few years. Yeah. And so when you strip the magnet status because they're not necessarily considered diverse, right? Because of the lawsuit that happened in TUSD in 1974.
Okay, yeah.
They were like, okay, your school's not diverse enough, you know, so we are going to ship white kids into your neighborhood to make it more diverse and give them access to all the programs that the kids that were in the neighborhood have to be shipped to Townsend, or they have to be shipped out of the neighborhood, right? And that affected the children a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of different, it's not just the roads and, oh, we don't have bike boulevards or sidewalks, but it's the fact that these parents don't have employment, these kids don't have proper education. On top of that, they live on a landfill, right? So the traditions that they are accustomed to, getting their hands dirty, getting on the ground and growing their own food, providing for themselves in order to solve their own problems within the household, they are not able to do it because the foundation is broken, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of different things in this neighborhood as the development at Tucson Marketplace continues to happen, you know. At first it's, oh, this is going to be like businesses, right? Not necessarily local businesses, right? They're giving tax breaks, opportunity zones, you know, the Office of Home Economics, but the Office of Economic Incentives, right? They're giving 8-year tax breaks